Hello everyone, Mr. Chen here, back with another video on how to solve SAT math problems. Before we start, a message from Ms. Knight, Mr. Tsai, and myself. We want to emphasize the importance of you becoming more familiar with the SAT and improving your score. The SAT is an important factor when colleges are evaluating students. Every point you score higher on your SAT means a better chance to be accepted into the college that you want to attend. I hope you take full advantage of this opportunity. Don't forget. Let's go ahead and read number 1. 3x plus x plus x plus x minus 3 minus 2 equals 7 plus x plus x. In the equation above, what's the value of x? Just like we previously talked about, we got to identify what we're solving for. We're solving for the value of x. Let's go ahead and just combine like terms on the left and right side of the equation. So I'm going to underline for those people who are a little more visual on the like terms on the left and the like terms on the right. That are my variables. Let's go ahead and identify the constant that we're going to combine on the left and the one on the right. And I'm sure many of you can do this on your own. So now we see 3x plus x plus x plus x. That's going to be 6x on the left equal to, I know it'll be 2x on the right. And in terms of the constants, I have -2 and -3. That will make -5. And then plus 7 on the right. Now this becomes a simple one variable equation. Let's just go ahead and combine like terms here. Further, I'm going to minus 2x on both sides of the equation to get all my variables on the left. I get 4x minus 5 equals 7, plus 5 to both sides. 4x equals 12, divided by 4 to both sides, and x equals 3. The correct answer here is D. Another way to approach this problem, in terms of might be saving you time, is as you're doing this problem right away, you notice that there are x's on both sides of the equation. You know that they're going to have to cancel each other out because you got to subtract x. So you can start canceling them quickly. So maybe you just start canceling the 2x's on the left and 2x on the right. You don't cancel them out right away. And now this equation now becomes your 4x minus 5 equals 7 much quicker. And then you can go straight into your solving. Of course, at the end though, if you would like, you can always plug in d back in, the 3 back into the equation, just make sure that you got the correct answer. Let's go ahead and read number 2. We have given a graph here. When I read a graph, I'm going to notice the axes, x-axis, time in terms of minutes, y-axis, distance traveled in terms of feet. The graph above shows the distance traveled d in feet by a product on a conveyor belt m minutes after the product is placed on the belt. Which of the following equations correctly relates d and m? Once again, what are we looking for here? What are we looking for? We're looking for which of the following equations relates d and m. So once again, all that extra stuff beforehand, all this other text about conveyor belts, production, all junk, just to distract you. Now, looking at this right here, looking at this graph above, you can see it's a linear line. So instantly you should be like, oh, when have I learned linear? You should go back to Algebra 1, which many of you had with me, and we learned about your mama's ex-boyfriend. Y equals mx plus b. So very likely in this problem, you will be looking at an equation in this form, where if you remember correctly, that m is your slope, which you know as rise over run, or maybe even in terms of formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. On the other hand, b, you should know it's your y-intercept, where your graph crosses the y-axis and the x value is always 0. Alright, let's continue with this problem right here. Let's go ahead and look at the 4 options we have here that relates what we see on our graph and see which one of these equations correctly relates d and m. I'm looking at this problem right here. Right away, you can eliminate c and d. Why do I say that? Well, I say that because if you look at the y-intercept right there, the y-intercept, instantly you know that it's your 0. The y-intercept is going to be b equals 0 because it crosses at 0, 0. So it instantly eliminates C and D because they have B values of 2. So now all you have to look at is my answer A or B. And what might be helpful at this point, so just pick a coordinate on the plane. Pick a coordinate on the plane here. So I'm gonna look at this point right here, right there. The coordinate there is 1, 2. And I know that my x-axis is time, so this is my m in minutes. And then on the other hand, the 2 is my distance traveled in feet, so that is my d. So now I can plug it in and kind of plug into my two answers, A and B, to see if which one works better. So if I plug in 1 m right there, 2 times 1, oh, it does give me 2. On the other hand, if I plug in 1 into my second equation, 1/2 times 1, that gives me 1/2. That does not give me d. So that tells us that the answer should be A. D equals 2m. Another approach we can take with this problem is maybe you did not do Yo Mama's ex-boyfriend. Maybe you don't know slope, you don't know y-intercept, you're not worried about all of that. But instead, you do notice that there are coordinates here, 1, 2, and maybe you also see that there's another point, 2, 4. And you're asking yourself, well, the question is asking me to find the relationship between D and M. I'm comparing D and M. So you can kind of create a ratio table here with D compared to M, so 2 to 1. And 4 to 2. And you're looking at these two ratios and go, well, what's happening? How does D relate to M? So you can tell from here that whatever M is, D is double that. Whatever M is, D is double that. So right here, M double becomes D. M halved is not going to be D because D is going to be bigger than M. And therefore you know that maybe the answer should probably most likely be A. Alright folks, last problem of the day. Let's go and read it. In a figure above, RT equals TU. What is the value of X? What are we looking for? We're looking for the value of X. To be more specific, X is an angle in our diagram. Well, angle of what? It's an angle in a triangle. That should jog some memory from geometry. What do you know about the angles in a triangle? You should know that the 3 angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. That is the key fact that's going to help you solve this question. So now we need to form a kind of a plan of attack in terms of how are we going to approach this by finding that angle with the information we're given. Well, there's some other clue we haven't used here. We haven't used the idea that RT is congruent to TU. I'm going to mark that in our diagram. So RT, this side right here, is congruent to TU. And now you see that this triangle here has 2 congruent sides, making it a isosceles triangle. And that means that 2 sides are congruent, but also means 2 angles opposite of those sides are also congruent. Once again, the 2 sides are congruent, so the 2 angles opposite of them will also be congruent. I'm going to mark that. So I know this angle will be congruent to this angle. So let's now go back to our original idea. We're trying to find out the value of X. So if I want to find this angle right there, that means I need angle R. But to find angle R, I know it's the same thing as angle U. I can do that. But so I'm going to do something with this isosceles triangle to find angle U or angle R to help me out. But I noticed there's a third angle. I'm going to do that in black here. There's a third angle right there. I got to find a way to solve for that angle. and we'll come back to it. Let's go and solve for angle R first. Angle R first. I'm going to redraw this triangle to the right. So I have this angle right here, this triangle right here, this 114. This is, let's call it Y, and let's call that Y, because we know that they're congruent. And I know that the three angles in a triangle equal to 180. So 114 plus 2Y equals 180. Minus 114 to both sides. 2Y is equal to 66. Divide both sides by 2. Y equals 33. All right, I'm getting close now. So I know this R right here is 33 degrees. Now, let's go back into that black angle right there. We gotta find that angle in black. Well, how do we do that? You should be looking across the way and notice, oh, I know what type of angles these are. These are called vertical angles. And I know that vertical angles are congruent. So, if I can find this angle above, I know that it's going to be the same as the angle below. This problem is definitely multi-step, so I gotta still figure out more clues to help me find this angle right there. I now see that there's another triangle. There's a triangle right here. So if I can find the angles in this triangle, that will help me eventually get to this bottom one. The clue here is this 114. You should see that right here is a straight line. So 114 plus something is equal to the degree of a straight line, and you should know that's 180, or we call that supplementary. So 180 minus 114 will give you this angle right there. So 180 minus 114, I believe that is 66. That's going to be this angle right here. So now that we have two angles, we can now find the angle right there. The three of them we know should add up to 180. This is the third time we're applying the idea that three angles of a triangle add up to 180, right? It's just making you doing it over and over and over again. It's not a difficult problem, but it is a multi-step problem. So we know that 31 plus 66 plus something, let's call it Z this time, is going to be equal to 180. I know that 97 plus Z is equal to 180. Minus 97 to both sides. Z is gonna equal to 83. So if this angle on top is 83, its vertical angle right below is gonna be 83. We're finally on the last leg of this problem. I'm gonna redraw this last triangle for sake of clarity. I have the bottom left angle being 33 degrees. The top angle being 83, and the angle X I'm looking for right there. And our final equation, 33 plus 83 plus X equals 180, because there are three angles in a triangle. So combine like terms here. 116 plus X equals 180 minus 116 to both sides. So X is going to be equal to 64 degrees. And therefore our answer is C. So here's a second approach that might make the solving process faster. So let me go ahead and erase everything we dealt with so far. Not everything, actually. Give me 1 second here. So, once again, our focus here is to find angle X. Let's go ahead and just identify where that is. However, this time we can change our field a little bit in terms of, well, what should be our next step, right? We still took care of this triangle of isosceles, and we found out that R and U are both 33 degrees. I'm still going to write that in. But I'm now shifting my focus to the angle right next to X. Let's use that same idea here. I know that X and this angle next to it, they form a straight line. So they're going to be equal to 180 degrees when added together. So if I can find this angle right here, that'll help me find X. Well, I'm looking at this angle to the right of X. I'm like, oh, it's part of another bigger triangle right here. So I'm going to highlight that triangle. So I'm looking at this triangle now, right there. And I see that I already have two of the angles. So I can easily find that 180 minus 31 minus 33 will be equal to this. Because these three together were equal to 180. So if I take away these two from 180, I'll get that angle right there. So now I have 180 minus 31 minus 33. Let's call this angle B. I'm just making up things. Equals to B. So 180 minus 64 is going to be equal to 116. So angle B is equal to 116. And now we can finish the problem in terms of that 116 plus x will equal to 180. So I can do 180 minus 116 is going to equal to x. 180 minus 116 so equal to x. So 180 minus 116 is 64 equal to x. So we get the same answer of C just as before, taking a different approach and looking at a different triangle to solve. That's it for today. Thank you for your time, and I hope you learned something from it. Please answer the survey that Ms. Knight provides and give us any feedback or suggestion.